verses. And which one are we supposed to repeat? Maybe one or two.
Verse 6.
Or 6, right. So let's go to text 6 and we shall repeat the Sanskrit from it. Let's see.
You gotta go to verse 6.
Aham tvakamastvadbhaktas.
Aham tvakamastvadbhaktas.
Tvam cha swamyana pashraya.
Tvam cha swamyana pashraya.
Nanyate havayor arto.
Nanyate havayor artho.
Rajaseva kayor iva.
Rajaseva kayoriva.
Aham tvakamastvadbhaktas.
Aham tvakamastvadbhaktas.
Tvam cha swamyana pashraya.
Tvam cha swamyana pashraya.
Nanyate havayor arto.
Nanyate havayor artho.
Rajaseva kayor iva.
Rajaseva kayoriva.
Aham tvakamastvadbhaktas.
Aham tvakamastvadbhaktas.
Cha swamyana pashraya.
Tvam cha swamyana pashraya.
Nanyate havayor artho.
Nanyate havayor artho.
Rajaseva kayoriva.
Rajaseva kayoriva. Aham tvakamastvadbhaktas. Tvam cha swamyana pashraya. Nanyate havayor artho. Rajaseva kayoriva. Aham tvakamastvadbhaktas. Tvam cha swamyana pashraya. Nanyate havayor artho. Rajaseva kayoriva.
Aham tvakamastvadbhaktas.
Aham tvakamastvadbhaktas.
Tvam cha swamyana pashraya.
Tvam cha swamyana pashraya.
Nanyate havayor artho.
Nanyate havayor artho.
Rajaseva kayoriva.
Rajaseva kayoriva.
Alright, do the word now.
Aham.
Aham,
As far as I'm concerned,
to
indeed, a kama without material desire.
Tvadbhakta, fully attached to you without motivation.
Tvam cha, your lordship also. Swami, the real master. Anapashraya, without motivation, you do not become the master with motivation.
Nam not, anyata, without being in such relationship as master and servant. Iha, here, avayo, our, artha, any motivation. The Lord is the pure master, and Radharani is the pure devotee, with no materialistic motivation.
Raja,
King, Sevakayo, and servitor.
Iva, like, just as king,
Exact taxes for the benefit of the servant, or the servants to pay taxes for the benefit of the king. Translation. As purport by His Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki
Jai.
All together. Oh my Lord, I am your unmotivated servant,
and you're my eternal master. There is no need of our being anything other than master and servant. You are naturally my master, and I am naturally your servant. We have no other relationship.
Sorry, someone please read the purport.
Anyone wanna read? No, we don't.
Where are the microphones?
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Jivera Swarupoy Krishnera Nityadas. Every living being is eternally a servant of the Supreme Lord, Krishna. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 5:29, Bhoktaram Yagnatapasam Sarvalokam Maheshwaram. I am the proprietor of all planets, and I am the supreme enjoyer. This is the natural position of the Lord, and the natural position of the living being is to surrender unto Him. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. If this relationship continues, then real happiness exists eternally between the master and servant. Unfortunately, when the eternal relationship is disturbed, the living entity wants to become separately happy and thinks that the master is his order supplier. In this way, there cannot be happiness, nor should the master cater to the desires of the servant. If he does, he is not the real master. The real master commands, you must do this, and the real servant immediately obeys the order. Unless this relationship between the Supreme Lord and the subordinate living entity is established, there can be no real happiness. The living entity is ashraya, always subordinate. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is vishaya, the supreme objective, the goal of life. Unfortunately, persons trapped in this material world do not know this. Illusioned by the material energy, everyone in this material world is unaware that the only aim of life is to approach Lord Vishnu. Aradhanam sarvesham Vishnu-aradhanam param tasmat param devi tariyanam samachanam.
Anyone else like to read? Alex?
In the Padma Purana, Lord Shiva explains to his wife Parvati, the goddess Durga, that the highest goal of life is to satisfy Lord Vishnu, who can be satisfied only when his servant is satisfied. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore teaches, Gopi Vartu One must become a servant of the servant. Prahlad Maharaj also prayed to Lord Srimad that he might be engaged as the servant of the Lord's servant. This is the prescribed method of devotional service. As soon as a devotee wants the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be his order supplier, the Lord immediately refuses to become the master of such a motivated devotee. In Bhagavad Gita 4.11, the Lord says, Yayathamam pratyante tam sataiva ajami aham. As one surrenders unto me, I reward him accordingly. Materialistic persons are generally inclined to material profits. As long as one continues in such an adulterated position, he does not receive the benefit of returning home, back to Godhead.
Right, thank you. So let's go back and do what we can do first, is read through the translations. But it's okay because I'm going to, or actually I can just do this as we go, because I'm going to go consecutively through these verses. So just, yeah, you can keep it on that screen, and just as I'll say when I move to the next verse. Okay. All right. So, we left off at the end of the last chapter with Lord Nrsimhadev being pleased with the prayers of Prahlad. So right after killing Hiranyakashipu, he was still very angry. He was like seething with anger, and none of the demigods could pacify him. None of them dared to approach him, and they tried to offer prayers, but Lord Nrsimhadev was not calming down. And only when Prahlad stepped forward and Prahlad offered his prayers did the Lord become pacified and pleased. And he was so pleased that he wanted to offer Prahlad some benedictions. He wanted to give him opulences and power and position and fame and all the good things in material life, as we were talking about yesterday. So then Prahlad Maharaj starts this by basically he kind of rejects the benedictions of Lord Nrsimhadev and starts to present arguments. So he's arguing with the Lord. So just imagine the position. Prahlad Maharaj is this tiny little 5-year-old kid. Lord Nrsimhadev, he's just exhibited anger that, petrified the demigods. And now he wants to bless him, and then Prahlad's going to argue with him. So it's very interesting, the position of Prahlad Maharaj. And his determination as a devotee, and how fixed he is in knowing his position and what a devotee is meant to accept and what a devotee is meant to reject. And even if the Lord is offering it, he's going to have a little opposition to that. So it's a very interesting dynamic. So text 1 here. Let's read this together. The same Narada Muni continued. Although Prahlad Maharaj was only a boy, when he heard the benedictions offered by Lord Nrsimhadev,
he considered them impediments of the path of devotional service. Thus he smiled very mildly and spoke as follows.
material benedictions impediments on the path of devotional service? Argue.
They distract you. So you start thinking that you're awesome and you have means to enjoy it, and therefore you don't need to seek enjoyment. We're seeking enjoyment, and Krishna consciousness is telling us this world is not very enjoyable. Our enjoyment is in service. And so if I'm enjoying the world, it's hard to believe that and really live that with your whole heart. So sometimes it's better to not be enjoying, quote unquote, in the material world, so you can really try to taste the enjoyment of service.
Yeah, and we see that in the world. If you look at the countries of the world that tend to be more religious, it's like third world countries. Europe is the most atheistic continent, and a lot of Americans are also atheists because they feel well, I have everything I need. Even if they believe in God, it's yeah, God may be out there, but more or less irrelevant to me. I don't need Him to have everything. So what's the point? Because also they have that view of God as their order supplier. So if I have everything that I need, I don't need an order supplier. Then I don't have use for God. So yeah. What else? Ariana, was that your hand up?
Parker just said,
Oh, Anna.
it was Alex. Yeah, Parker said everything that I could have said, so.
Okay, anything else?
I was thinking also that it's entangling, once you start enjoying, you want to enjoy more, so you kind of go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, lust is like the blazing fire that's never fulfilled. So if you have the means to satisfy your lust, basically, everyone has material desires, but some people it's well, I want this, but I can't really get it, so forget it. Whereas if you have the means to get it, I want this, I have the money, why not get it? And then you just end up getting so diverted. And that's what Prabhupada says here in the purport. He says that possessing material opulence is always fearful because under the influence of material opulence, one may be misdirected from devotional service. So that's exactly what you all are saying. And another thing is that it can make us, just really complacent. And that's why Queen Kunti, she makes that prayer in the first canto. She says, Janmaishvarya Shruti Shrivir Edamana Nadakuman Naivar Hatyavidatum Vai Tvam Akinchana Gosharam. He says that people who are on this path of material progress trying to improve themselves by Janmaishvarya Shruti Shrivir. So Janma means birth and a good family, Aishvarya means wealth, Shruta means high education, and Shri means bodily beauty. So those who are just aspiring for these, just wanting to be beautiful and highly educated and wealthy and respectable, aristocratic, that such people, they can't call out to you with real feeling, with sincere feeling. And she said that even though you're easily approached, but such people don't approach you. They actually can't approach you because they're so bogged down with all of their sense of awesomeness, like Parker said, their prestige. She says that you can very easily be approached by those who are materially exhausted. Tvam Pakinchana Gocharam means that just people that are just don't have anything else but you. It is called take shelter of Krishna. So it's actually an advantage. Okay, so then in text 2, let's read text 2. Prahlad Maharaj said,
My dear Lord, the Supreme Prasad of Godhead, because I was born in an atheistic family, I am naturally attached to material enjoyment. Therefore, kindly do not tempt me with these illusions. I am very much afraid of material conditions, and I desire to be liberated from materialistic life. It is for this reason I have taken shelter at your lotus feet.
Yes, so Prahlad's saying that these things are impediments. Therefore, don't tempt me. Especially not me, because I was born in a demoniac family, and so this tendency towards material enjoyment just runs in my blood. Just look at my father. All he was interested in was material enjoyment, and when he got it, look what he did. He used it to destroy the Brahmins and kill the cows and stop all religious activities, and he even wanted to kill you. So don't tempt me. This is very dangerous stuff. This is like playing with fire. And So this is the nature of anybody in the material world, that these, he says we're naturally attached to material enjoyment. So we're born in materialistic, material world, material bodies, materialistic families, and a materialistic culture. And so we have to be very careful with how we handle any kind of material opulence. Like if we get some wealth, or we get, you know, some nice material thing, or we get a position where we have influence over other people or something like that, a little bit of fame, it can be dangerous because of our tendency to misuse it. So then it's good to get this like training that everyone's getting in the ashram, because it helps you to understand how to utilize everything in the service of Krishna. And like the verse that we read, that we recited, that to understand this, always understand that Krishna is my master and I'm the servant. And so everything that I have, any resources that I have at my disposal, they're all meant to be used in the service of the Lord, because that's my position. I'm just a servant. So with the resources that I have in my own being, my physical body, my mind, my intelligence, they're all meant for serving Krishna. And then anything external that happens to come to me by my karma or by the mercy of the Lord and the devotees, that's also meant to be used in the service of Krishna, because that's my position. I have no other position or identity. And that's my true nature. And then Prabhupada talks about how by acting according to our true nature, then we can become happy. And if we do anything else, like Anna said, we're just going to get entangled and suffer more and more repeated births and deaths in the material world. So, yeah. So Prabhupada's saying, don't tempt me. So we have, because we've had experience of material enjoyment in this lifetime, then little things tempt us. You know, whatever it was that we enjoyed, like sinful activities that we enjoyed before becoming devotees, they can still tempt us. You know, like if somebody used to smoke marijuana, for example, then you're walking down the street and you pass some, you know, student house and there's like, you know, a particular smell coming out the window, you're like, oh no, you know, it affects your mind in a way that it doesn't affect the mind of somebody who never partook in that activity. So, yeah, Prabhupada is saying that although he didn't, you know, although he was pure through his young childhood, but because he grew up in that atmosphere of material contamination, then he felt himself to be more susceptible. So in this way, we're always susceptible. So we need to keep ourselves safe and not play with Maya, you know, not expose ourselves to, not unnecessarily expose ourselves to temptations. When we go out to preach, for example, go out to distribute prasadam and all the things that we do, before COVID-19, things that we do, then we need to make sure that we're in a safety zone, you know, that we're not rushing into a burning building without, you know, some kind of, you know, firemen, they wear like safety clothes, fire-resistant garments. So yeah, we have to put on our resistance so that we're resistant to Maya. And that resistance is, well, one thing is the association of devotees, and another thing is taking prasadam. I was for taking prasadam, it's like it protects us, it forms like a wall against, you know, wanting to enjoy anything else out there. So these are some things that can help us. All right. Now let's go on to text 3. Oh, my worshipful Lord, because the seed of lusty desires, which is the root cause of material existence,
Is within the core of everyone's heart. You have sent me to this material world to
exhibit the symptoms of pure devotee. Yeah, so basically what Prabhupada's trying to remind Lord Nrsimhadev, he's trying to tell him that, you know, this is not my purpose. You sent me to this material world not to enjoy, but to exhibit the symptoms of a pure devotee. I'm supposed to be, you know, doing full-time devotional service, not, you know, being a king and, you know, ruling the world and having so much opulence and, you know, all this stuff. Because the seed of lusty desires is within the heart, and also the seed of bhakti is within the heart. So we need to water, whatever one we water is the one that's going to grow. So he's saying, don't don't force me to water the seed of lusty desires, because the soil of the material world is already very fertile. It contains all the nutrients for nourishing that seed, whereas the seed of bhakti in the material world grows with difficulty. You know, it's like sometimes you're trying to grow a garden, and it's like you plant the seed, the thing that you want to grow, and it's just so difficult to make that thing grow nicely. You know, you have to take so much trouble and care for it and protect it and make sure it's got the right temperature. And then there are the weeds, and the weeds, it's like you don't fertilize them, you don't water them, you don't care about the temperature. They just grow, and they grow so well. So in the material world, it's like that. This seed of lusty desires grows like a weed. It grows really well, and it's deep-rooted, and you don't even have to care for it. It just naturally grows because the environment is already perfect for it. Whereas the creeper of bhakti, it requires attention. It requires a lot of care. And, you know, like Stephen takes care of Tulsi Devi so nicely. It's like he's always so, you know, every day going in there, is the temperature okay? Is the humidity okay? Does she need a little more fertilizer? You know, like this. So we have to be very vigilant in the cultivation of our bhakti creeper, because it needs attention. And we have to also at the same time vigilantly pull the weeds, which are going to grow on their own. So those weeds that grow up and that try to material desires and desires for position, even within the sphere of bhakti, you know, that within bhakti, that I want to be respected and admired for the service that I do. I want to have a position. I want to, you know, be, you know, somebody special in ISKCON, or, you know, like that. So those are like weeds that grow up in our devotional service, that we need to, when we see them coming, we need to pull them out, so that the creeper of humble, submissive service to the devotees can grow nicely. Are you checking the mics? Checking my mic. Being very vigilant. Useless microphone. Thank you. Alright, so yeah, he said, "You sent me to this world to exhibit the symptoms of the pure devotee." And he's saying that, yeah, so it's kind of like this firefighter analogy that, like Prabhupada explains in the purport to this verse, text 3, that Prahlad was a nitya siddha. He's not like a person coming from previous births in the material world, but he came from the spiritual world to do this service of showing us what pure devotional service looks like. But just like a firefighter, he goes into the burning building to save people. You know, he's not stuck. He's not himself stuck in that burning building. He's not in a dangerous position. But he enters that dangerous position in order to save others. So in the same way, a devotee like Prahlad or Srila Prabhupada, you know, comes to this material world in order to save the fallen souls who are burning, getting burnt in the blazing fire of material existence. But when they come to the material world, because they're in the material world, they feel, although they're basically resistant to anything because they've got their, you know, fire clothes on, but still they feel that it's a place of danger. They still feel that they're in a dangerous position. So Prabhupada saying in the purport here that Prahlad Maharaj wasn't going to be allured by any of these things. He wasn't going to misuse his wealth, his position, his opulence, but he felt that he could. He's still feeling, just like Prabhupada one time was praying to the deities, I think in Los Angeles, or in Yorkadish, and he was standing there for a long time praying, and then one of the devotees said, "Prabhupada, what were you praying for?" And he was saying, I was praying to Krishna to protect me from Maya. So, like he said, this is Maya's kingdom. It's a very dangerous place. So that's what Prahlad is feeling, and he's taking a position of a conditioned soul, that we're in this very dangerous position, and we're like in a blazing fire, and we're so at risk of being burnt. And so we need to really protect ourselves and not play with fire, not dabble with it. Even a firefighter, he rushes into a burning building to save somebody, but let's say, you know, he knows there's a child stuck in one of the bedrooms, but in order to get there, he has to pass through the kitchen. And then, you know, maybe on the way through, he sees there's a nice cake there. It was breakfast this morning. They called me too early to save people. Well, this fire's starving. Just grab a piece of that cake. So we shouldn't, while we're in the even the pure devotees who come to the material world, there might be some temptation. No, that's not what I'm. So that's what he's telling me. That's not what I'm here for. I didn't come to this. I'm not a firefighter. I didn't come into this blazing building to eat cake. Don't offer me cake while I'm here. That's what he's saying. He's like, I came here to save people. I came here to show the path of devotional service, and to teach devotional service. And like we saw yesterday, this mood of compassion that I don't need anything for myself. I'm here just for them. My only concern is for these poor fallen souls who are suffering, for getting burnt up. Let me rescue them, take them back to the spiritual world, save them now. So, yeah. All right, let's go to text 4. This is all so exciting. All right, text 4. Otherwise,
O my Lord, the supreme instructor of the entire world, you are so kind to your devotee that you could not induce him to do something unbeneficial for him. On the other hand, one who desires some material benefit in exchange for devotional service cannot be a pure devotee. Indeed, he is no better than a merchant who wants profit in exchange for service.
yeah, so here he's kind of like he's sort of in one sense he's telling Lord Nrsimhadev off. He's like, how is it, like that you're inducing me to do something that's unbeneficial for me? So then why is it? Why do you think? Why is Lord Nrsimhadev? Because he knows he's, the Lord sent Prahlad here. Saying, you sent me here for a purpose. This is not the purpose. So why are you trying to induce me to do something, to eat cake here? Yeah, Max.
Is it to glorify the resolve of a pure devotee?
How would it do that?
By giving him the opportunity to demonstrate the mood and how to react when these things are presented.
Yeah, beautiful. To show how a pure devotee responds when offered. When these things are available, how do we respond to them? How do we deal with it? Good. And why is this really instructive in the particular situation? I'm not talking about for us, although definitely for us, but in the situation, in the context in which this pastime is taking place. Think about who's there. Anna?
Demigod.
So all the demigods and the asuras are there?
Yeah, so all the most of the asuras are dead. Because after telling about your food, then they all charge them to finish them off too. But the demigods mainly, he's doing this to glorify Prahlad, to glorify how a devotee is not bewildered. A devotee has no interest in these material things. And that's to instruct the demigods, because the demigods sometimes are interested in material things. So he's kind of like, look, you demigods, this is the standard. this is what you need to rise to. That Prahlad's, to show Prahlad's like unalloyed devotion, that he's totally undaunted, he's not at all tempted. And we saw like previously how Prahlad, although he was in so many torturous situations, he never lost faith in the Lord. Like sometimes the demigods get this mood of, oh my Lord, how have you forsaken me? But Prahlad was never like that. He was always 100% confident that the Lord was right there with him and was always protecting him and was, going to save him from any kind of calamity. And then the demigods just saw Prahlad's selflessness and his compassion that we were admiring in the previous section, how he didn't need anything for himself, but he was just concerned for those fools and rascals who turned their faces away from him. And so he's saying that he's showing how Prahlad is such a high caliber of devotee. And he's saying that so he's showing that you demigods, this is why you were afraid. You were afraid of me even when I appeared, but Prahlad wasn't afraid. And this is why none of your prayers could satisfy me, but Prahlad's prayers totally satisfy me. And this is why when you have problems, you have to come, to the ocean of milk and to come begging and asking for my assistance. But Prahlad never asked for anything. He just had 100% faith that I was going to protect him. And he said, and I came. You have to come and ask, and then I'll be like, yeah, I'll come soon, later. I'll I'll be there sooner or later. But Prahlad, like Lord Nrsimha just came running. Like as soon as Prahlad said, Hiranyakashipu was like, is he here? Prahlad's like, yep, he's here. And then immediately he was there. He just came, you know, on cue.
Okay.
Like, yeah, he's right there. So he's pointing out how like most people want to worship God to get something, and the demigods often want to. They often do that. But Prahlad's saying that a person who does that, a person who desires material benefit in exchange for devotional service, is not your pure devotee. He's no better than a merchant. He's a merchant who wants profit in exchange for service. So this is the standard thing that most people who are religious consider themselves religious. They'll approach God for something, you know. Give me this, give me that, whatever. They give some donation thinking that I'll give $10 and for that $10 I'll get, you know, an amazing job, I'll pass my exams, I'll get a great husband or wife, you know, I'll get my green card, I'll get whatever, you know, for that $10. So it's all about business. I give you something, you give me something back. I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. But of course you have to scratch it where I want and how I want and, you know, as hard or soft as I want, otherwise, you know, I'm out of here. So it's all very conditional.
You don't want to be scratched by Nrsimhadev.
Whereas Prahlad's service is unconditional. So it's very hard for him to even ask for something. He doesn't want to ask for something. He's like, don't even offer me something. I don't want anything. And so we see that like with the example of Sudam Brahman. His wife wanted him to go ask Krishna for wealth because they were so poor. But when Sudam even going there, he's like, he didn't want to ask for anything. He couldn't ask for anything, and he didn't ask for anything. He said, look, listen, I didn't come here to do business. I give you this chipped rice, you give me, you know, a beautiful house and wealth. And he's like, that's not my purpose. Just like Prahlad saying, that is not my position. I'm just a servant. I came here to serve you. I just want to be with you. So, yeah. It's not a
big profit margin.
Oh, it's not a big, yeah, and they expect a big profit margin. Okay, then the next verse, text 5. A servant who desires material profit from his master is certainly not a qualified servant or pure devotee. Similarly, a master who bestows benedictions upon his servant because of a desire to maintain a prestigious position as master is also not a pure master. So he's also like, he's kind of criticized. He's like, if you're going to offer me these things, you're not actually a bona fide master. You're not the real deal here. Because who wants a master who can be bought? You know, like, what is the use of a master that it's like, that I can just buy you by doing, you know, by this business thing?
What does that mean? What is a master that you don't buy? Like, can you explain that whole thing?
The servant, that he wants, a master who bestows benedictions upon his servant because of the desire to maintain a prestigious position as master. So it's like, yeah, I'll give you some nice thing as long as you go on puffing me up, basically. Maintaining my position where I believe that I'm the master. So the master is actually dependent on the worship of this servant for his sense of, identity as master.
I was going to say, you can see it a lot in politics, like the president will appoint his friends to certain positions because they'll know that they'll do whatever he wants them to do.
Yeah, he just wants people who flatter him and, and make him feel good, like yes men, like yes, whatever you want, I'll do, like that. And then that keeps him alive in his position.
Does that mean the real master is one who doesn't need or want followers?
Yeah, he's detached. Yep.
How does such a person behave toward followers?
He's not obligated. That's the thing, that the master is not obligated to the followers. So Prabhupada gives the example here in the purport of the demigods. Again, this is instructive to the demigods because the demigods, they really want people to worship them. They're sort of dependent on being worshipped. And therefore, people who do worship them, they'll give them whatever they want. So he gives the example of Vrikasura, who's worshiping. He's like offering his flesh to Lord Shiva in order to get a benediction, certain benediction. And Lord Shiva becomes obligated, and he gives him that benediction, but it's a benediction which is harmful to everybody, including Rikasura. And actually, it ends up, like, the benediction he wanted was to be able to touch whoever's head he touches, that person's head will explode and they'll be killed. So Lord Shiva gave him the benediction. He's like, okay, let me test it on you. And then she was like, ow, because it was actually like it was a good benediction. So the whole pastime unfolds. But that's not the nature of the Supreme Personality of God. And demigods do that. They can be bought. Like, yeah, you give a demigod a donation, you do some ritual, you offer some sacrifice, and they'll do what you want. You can buy them through your worship and make them do what you want. But the Lord is not like that. Krishna is not like that. He doesn't give, like Prabhupada says here, the Lord will never offer someone a condemned benediction. On the contrary, it said that he'll take things away. If you're worshiping him, but you have material desires, he'll like take away and you have a tendency to use material things for your enjoyment, he'll take all your things away when you worship him. So it's like, you're not supposed to be giving me material things. It's not that I worship you. I just offer you all these beautiful prayers, not to get a material thing from you. You're not a demigod. You're the Lord. This is not what you do. Don't act like a demigod. That's what he's saying. And he's instructing the demigods. He's like, demigods do that nonsense. Don't deal with me like that. I'm not a businessman. These materialistic karma kandis, they do business with demigods. They offer something to get something back. But I'm not a karma kandi. I'm your devotee. You're not a demigod. You're the Lord. Our really different. That's what he's saying.
So, if someone worships the Lord and he doesn't reciprocate, that's still okay because he's not obliged to. Like, a master is not obliged to reciprocate with a follower.
Yeah.
And a follower does good service or does good worship or something like that. The master is not obliged to reciprocate because it's not transactional. That's still like a bona fide master.
But I mean, the thing is, he will reciprocate. But like Krishna reciprocates, he says, "Ye tamam prapadite tam stitava vajamiham." But he reciprocates in his own way. He reciprocates in a way that's actually going to be beneficial to the worshiper, to the person who offers him something. So that's what Prahlad is complaining about. He's like, you're offering me something in return which is not beneficial for me. A qualified master offers only what is beneficial. Jen.
I'm not sure if this is all the way relevant, but whenever I think of a master who offers benediction without thinking about their followers, I thought of Rama and how he's supposed to be like the perfect man, the perfect king, which is a master, and he cared a lot about what other people think. So is Rama more of like a materialistic, or how to understand like why he cared so much about what the people in his kingdom thought about Sita?
You mean in Dashing Sita? I mean, that was a whole pastime. That was a pastime that was actually like meant for Sita's, in order to facilitate Sita's disappearance from the material world and going back into her eternal pastimes. So that's different. When it comes to the Lord's pastimes, it's like, yes, it's always for some higher purpose that these things happen. Yeah, we can't apply our Brahmanic logic to that. Okay, we still have a few more verses, but a few minutes. So let's go to the next one. Text 6. Oh my Lord, I am your unmotivated servant, and you are my eternal master. There's no need for me anything other than master and servant. You are naturally my master, and I am naturally your servant. We have no other relationship. Yeah, so that's what we were just talking about in the last discussion. We'll go to the next. Text 7. Oh my Lord, best of the givers of benediction, if you at all want to bestow a desirable benediction upon me, then I pray for your lordship that within the core of my heart there will be no material desires. So now Prahlad is like, yeah, okay, fine. You want to give me a benediction? You want to fulfill my desires? So here's my desire. My desire is that I'll have no material desires. So he honors the Lord's desire to benedict him, and so he kind of like tricks the Lord. So this is the mood of a devotee. Nadanam najanam sundari, and how's it go?
Kavitam Vajrishikame Mama Janmani Janmanishwari Bhavatad Bhakti Haituki Toyi.
So the Prabhupada says in the purport here that the impersonalists, they take the negative side of this verse. That I don't want any money, no wealth, no followers, nothing, you know. So they get off the material platform. They don't want the material things, but they just sort of stop there at zero, like we were talking about in the class last night. So the devotees, they get off the negative platform, but then they get onto the positive platform with Mama Jamani Janmani Shre Bhagavatam Bhakti Rahaitikitavedi, that I don't want all these things, but what I do want, there is something that I want, and that is your causeless devotional service birth after birth. I just want to serve you. So that's what Prabhupada's saying. I don't want these things, I just want to serve you. Because he says, again, the next verse, Oh my Lord, because of lusty desires from the very beginning of one's birth, the functions of one's senses, mind, life, body, religion, patience, intelligence, shyness, opulence, strength, memory, and truthfulness are vanished. So he's saying, and this is why I don't want material desires, because these material desires cause us to basically spoil our lives. All the things that we have, our intelligence, our patience, our opulence, our strength, our religion, they're all just wasted if we use them in pursuance of fulfilling material desires. But if we use them in the service of the Lord, then they help us attain the perfection of life. Text 9. Oh my
Lord, when a human being is able to give up all the material desires in his mind, he becomes eligible to possess wealth and opulence like yours.
So then he's saying the benefit of giving up material desires, that when I don't have any material desires, then I actually have something. You know, when we actually have nothing materially, which doesn't mean that we actually don't have anything, but that we use everything in Krishna's service. So whatever we do, we can have the whole wealth of the whole world and use it in Krishna's service, and it's not counted as material possessions, it's spiritualized. So when we give up all these material desires and material, using things for our material enjoyment, then we become eligible to possess wealth and opulence like the Lord's, which is, the opulences of the spiritual world, which is Satchit, Ananda, and service to Krishna, which is the true wealth. So let's read the last verse. Oh my
Lord, full of six opulences, a supreme person, a supreme soul, killer of all miseries, a supreme person in the form of a wonderful lion and man, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you.
So yeah, here he's glorifying Lord Nrsimhadev, that you are the possessor of the opulences. He says, you are Bhagavan. Oh Lord, full of six opulences. All the opulences are meant for you. And you take away all the miseries. And it's misusing material things that causes our misery. So he's saying, don't give me things, rather take away my miseries, take away my material desires. And he said that all I need, he's basically saying, I don't need any of these things. All I need is you and loving service to you. Because love is the greatest opulence, even in the material world. Everybody is just looking for love, right? That's the treasure. And even money can't buy us love. So we don't, like a song, it's like, I don't care too much for money can't buy me love. So, out of all the valuable things in this world, love is the most valuable. And of all forms of love that are attainable, love for Krishna is the highest form of love. It's the purest love. And the residents of the Vrajavasis, the residents of Goloka Vrindavan, because he's saying that here you possess wealth and opulence like yours, which means the wealth of the spiritual world, that the residents of Goloka Vrindavan, they possess so much love for the Lord that they actually control the Lord by their love, by their loving service. But at the same time, they never feel themselves to be controllers. They're always in this consciousness that I'm your servant, you are the master, and dasa das das ani das. That I'm the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. And that because love manifests as selfless service. And so therefore, Prabhupada ends like this, with offering his respectful obeisances to the Lord. Okay. We don't have much time. We don't have many time. We're done.
I'll speak till the breakfast comes in.
Okay, we're getting in here. All right, Parker, you have your hand up.
Yeah, it always that a good master should offer some benediction, or is it sometimes that the selfless service of a follower is enough? That's love.
Well, there comes to a point where, like Lord Krishna says to the gopis, that, Napareham, I can't repay you for your service. Therefore, you just have to be satisfied. Let your service be your own reward. And really, it is, because it's like, what else is there to be had? When you have pure devotional service for Krishna, pure love for Krishna, and you're serving Him in that loving devotional consciousness, it's like, what else is there to have?
Is that
Think
there?
of anything, or anything else that you might need, or you might long to possess?
Is that there only at the highest stages, or would the benedictions be purifying our service?
Yeah, so in the stage of sadhana bhakti, then, we can ask for anything that we feel is going to help us come to that position. Then we can desire that, and that's helpful to desire those. But those aren't material desires; those are spiritual desires. So that's not what Prahlad is saying. He wants to be free from. He wants to be free from desires for selfish sense gratification. Okay, breakfast is arrived. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki.